Okay, friends, welcome to NMBF Coffee Chats, a place where we gather once, twice a week to discuss topics that are so important for our living. And today we are here gathered here to discuss one such topic, rethinking fashion. And we are so glad and thankful to God that we have Dr. Nilanjana Bairagi here in the midst of us to lead this session. And just to, for those of us who are new, what we'll be doing, just to explain the structure, we'll have the speaker speak for a length of time. And after that, we will go into a time of Q&A. Yeah. So, Dr. Nilanjana Bairagi is the campus academic coordinator, dean, and an associate professor at NIFT, Bengaluru, India. She holds MTech and PhD degrees 2008 in textile technology from the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Delhi. She has 20 years of academic and research experience. Her main areas of research are design research, user centered designing of functional apparel, product innovation, sustainable fashion, designing for special needs, and craft research. She has several national and international research publications to her credit. Wow. It's so amazing to hear this accomplishments. And friends, today we are really going to look at this very crucial topic of rethinking fashion, thinking about consumption and disposal of the stuff we buy. And before this, we had another session a few weeks back with Dr. Nilanjana. It really blew our minds of some of the facts that she revealed. We never know how consciously and unconsciously our choices are having such a widespread effect. And I'm sure today will be again a session that will awaken and challenge many of us. Yeah. So, a lot of sales, lot of shopping, a lot of offers are there. And here is the voice of Dr. Nilanjana to compete with all of that. And so, may God use her as she shares what we are doing to God's beautiful creation. Okay. So, over to Dr. Nilanjana. Yeah.
A very good evening, and thank you so much, Pastor Abhijit, for inviting me and for your kind introduction. I'm blessed to be among all of you, and let me and without wasting much time, I will just start sharing what I have prepared for you all, and then we will open up for questions. So, Pastor, if you can tell me if my
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
uh, sorry, I think it went to the last slide.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. I'll come to the first one. Oh, there we go. So, rethinking fashion consumption and disposal. So, I would like to talk about what is fashion because we all understand fashion in different ways. Then I will come to the impact of fashion, especially in terms of consumption, and we'll think about disposal, the environmental impact, the societal and the psychological. And then we'll think what is our response, what can we do, and I will sum up. So let me start with what is fashion? The definition of fashion is very simple. It is just a style that is popular at any particular time. It can be clothing, it can be hair, it can be makeup, it can be accessories, it can even be a mobile phone or shoes or bag or any home fashion, anything. And we often use these phrases like this is in fashion, means this is what is popular among the society we live in right now, or it is in trend. And sometimes we say, oh, this is out of fashion. Why? Now and then, it's something which is very clear to all of us. If you look at these two photographs, one is a family photo, current, which is AI generated on the left side. And on the right side, you can see there is a family photo of maybe around 1960s or 1970s, or maybe 1950s. I think 1960s, 70s. Look very similar to the kind of family photos I have seen in our family albums, the old ones of my parents. But I want you to look at the difference. You know, in the photograph, which is taken around family photo, which is maybe taken around 1960s or 70s, the dress that the elder one is wearing will be passed down to the younger one. Or maybe the elder brother is wearing, will go to the younger one. And they are all fashionable. They're all in their best outfits. And the trend is at that particular time's trend. And during that time, most of the fabric that was used, of course, was wool, cotton, because polyester came into the market much later, which is a synthetic fiber and has very fascinating properties. But most of the fashion at that time was made of material that were locally available or available in India. And the yarn was made, they were made into a fabric, they were stitched. And many of it till that point of time was biodegradable because polyester nylon did not come to the Indian market. But when the blends came and the technology came other challenges also. And you can see over here on the other side, what we actually understand is a modern fashion. You know, we don't need to go to the tailors to give our measurements, wait for the garment to be stitched to our size. We can just go and pick it up, or we can just pick it up online. So what happens with this? You know, our need to want. We just pick up things what we think we need, but actually it might be like something want, which this I had talked about earlier, gives us a sense of belonging, gives us, you know, we want to color coordinate, and with all the technological innovation, we want to share with others, you know, our pictures, our styles, the way we are, and that's why fashion has become one of the reasons why fashion has become so important to all of us. Additionally, you know, we see a lot of clothes around. Now, these are pictures I have just taken from the stores which are around my place. And interestingly, I found there were very, very beautiful frocks for kids, and these kids will outgrow in few months. And some of these frocks might even be used for a baptism or a christening ceremony or a wedding and so on and so forth. And then the kind of offers that we get, buy 4, get 6 free. But why do we get these offers? You know, the reason that we fail to understand is that there might be a stock that has been designed, manufactured, and put in the stores, and nobody bought it. And the company needs to clear it off to at least get the returns that they have invested. And that's why there is an offer which is given to us. But each of this garment that you see, actually the journey starts from the very fiber, which might have, if it's cotton, it's gone in the farm. It required water, it required pesticide, it's required a lot of care and maintenance, it required harvesting. From there, it has gone to a spinning industry. From there, it has been blended, tested, yarn is made. Then it didn't stop there. It went to be made into a fabric. The fabric has gone to different places to be made into a garment. The garment also requires accessories like buttons, zippers, streams. So this has come from all the different parts of the country, put together. From there, it has traveled. It has been ordered and traveled to a particular store where it has been put up, or maybe in a warehouse from where it is sold online. And this activity itself, it's a huge supply chain which requires a lot of energy, a lot of water, and a lot of effort, and a lot of people. Now, behind the goods that, or good offers that we get, you know, it's so tempting. It's so tempting because the other day, when I walked inside a store and I just had one thing that I had picked up, I had to wait for more than half an hour to check out because it was a weekend. And then I started observing the amount of products that now we in India buy in the metros. Because we get these offers, you know, we get this really, really good offers. And everywhere we see these offers. And it does make us feel good that we are doing a wise and a good purchase. Irresistible, yes. Irresistible offers. And then sometimes the offers come in such a way that these branded products, actually the brand image that they portray matches with the image that we would like to have or the identity that we would like to project. And these offers look very, very compelling to us, and we start consuming. So we start buying because it appeals to us. But then where? Once we are done with it, and maybe our sizes change, or something goes wrong, or maybe the buttons fall off, or sometimes we just get bored, and then where does it go? This is where it goes in India. And so much of good material is there, and it's loads and loads. So as per the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, it is one garbage truck full of clothes is burnt or dumped in a landfill every second in the world, every second. And all that is dumped is not biodegradable. It's not a vegetable waste. It has got so many components. It has got maybe cotton, which is biodegradable, or even if it's wool, it is biodegradable, the natural fibers. But along with that, it has got a lot of other things like polyester, nylon, elastin, which is non-biodegradable. Even in 200 years, it will not become a part of the soil. Additionally, there might be plastic or polyester buttons, zippers, swing thread, any other trims. So it just remains out there, and it has a huge impact on the environment. Now, what kind of impact does it have? Not only there is a lot of carbon dioxide that is produced, which leads to global warming, there's a lot of wastage. And, what research says that 60% more garments, people bought 60% more garments in 2014 than in 2000. But then they kept the clothes for half as long as they would have kept in the year 2000. So in 2000, if I had kept a top for 1 year, by 2014, people are just keeping it for 6 months and buying something more. So fashion is, or the garment industry, or the clothing and the apparel industry, or the textile industry, is the second biggest polluting industry, consumer of water, and is responsible for 2 to 8% of global carbon dioxide emissions, which leads to global warming, leads to climate change, leads to a disturbance in the agriculture, leads to so much things, even in even the health of people who are working outside. Also, 60% of all the material used in the fashion industry are actually made from polyester. And I just mentioned that this polyester does not degrade even in 200 years. And it is dumped. It's dumped in India because we lack channels for recycling it completely. So 500,000 tons of microfibers. Now, what happens if it goes into the water? It starts breaking down, especially in the seawater. It starts breaking down into small, small particles, any polyester bottle or any plastic container, and it becomes microplastic, which are really, really very small particles. And now microplastics are there even in Arctic or in Antarctic, and it goes inside the life under the water. So there is a huge contamination in the environment because of this microplastic, which goes to the animals who live really, really far away, but then the sea currents take it to them. And now microplastics are found everywhere. And this has a very serious health impact on the health of all the living beings. The textile industry also actually leads to a lot of industrial wastewater pollution, though in the developed countries, there are very strict, and even in India, there are strict, environmental norms for treating the wastewater, but still 20% of the industrial wastewater pollution worldwide from all the countries and the developing countries originates from the fashion industry. And all the clothes we buy, only 1% is used to produce fashion again, or is used to produce clothing again. What happens to the 99%? So there is so much of material loss. And to make clothing, we do need a lot of energy, a lot of water, a lot of manpower. So 1 million tons of textiles and mostly polyester are discarded annually, mostly from households, only in India. And this is a huge, do we have the infrastructure to really take care of it? No, not now. Apart from that, there is also a social footprint. Because in India, the whole garment and the textile industry is the second largest employment generating industry after agriculture. So there are a huge number of textile workers. Many of them are women, not only in India, but in any other developing countries. And sometimes they work for very long hours. The wages are minimum, and they're the ones who make all this fashion. Okay, so there are human rights violations. There are laws, there are audits right now. So the workplace is much better in Bangalore that I have seen for the women workers. But still, there are places in India where it might not be that good for the women workers. And the fashion industry is known for being one of the most intensive industry and also labor intensive industry. Now, when I pick up a t-shirt, actually, I just can't think about all this, because I find the aesthetics so appealing. And also all the international brand, they do outsource their products from India because our labor costs are very less. So the production cost of this product is less. So when this product is shipped from India to UK or to US or to any of the EU countries, there is also a carbon footprint that takes place. There's also carbon dioxide emission that takes place, which ultimately affects the environment. Now, why do we buy? Why do people buy? Buying is actually research has found that it is very therapeutic. And especially when we buy it from a reputable or a luxury brand, it can alleviate insecurities and help us feel better or attain a higher social standing. And sometimes we buy fashion just to be at par with our peers or social media followers or influencers because they're influencing our clothing choices. And we want to be in the context, in the present times. We don't want to be, made fun of or put down because what we are wearing. It's also a way to seek approval. And sometimes our insecurities, which are deep inside, triggers impulse by buying mechanism because it works as a coping mechanism. The instant gratification from a new purchase actually gives us a temporary relief from many of our underlying insecurities. And this has been made so easy with the online fashion. You see it, you like it, we have the AI prompts, and we can quickly pick up what we want. And then we have prime offers so that it can reach us as fast as we need. Now, it is true even in the Indian context. For the last few years, we have been researching on this, and we have asked people to share their, why do they acquire t-shirts or why do they acquire some fashion? And this is from one of the researches, where somebody, a volunteer, has said, because I buy impulsively because it is based on my mood, or when I go out and socialize, I want to keep up with the latest trend. I feel cotton is sustainable, but I just, cotton polyester, irrespective of blend ratios, I buy whatever I like. And digital stores, because they give us reduced prices and or offers, and sometimes I can return it very easily online. So we see that all the psychological factors, the social factors, and the marketing strata that is done helps us to acquire or to consume fashion so easily. And because when we buy fashion, we really do not see what is happening to the environment, or what would have been the impact on the environment. We cannot connect this two. Now in India, what happens? So there was a research which was done by Good Fashion for Good in India, and they found that like the waste in the fashion industry comes before we buy a product because there is cutting, stitching, so the extra fabric goes off, and after we wear, and we don't know what to do. So many times these days, the clothes, apart from being handed down to someone or given to someone, it is just thrown or discarded. And once it is discarded, what happens? I'll show a picture which we have recently taken from one of the recycling factories in Tirupur. It is used in other industries like bedding, automobile industrial verbs, but it's all, whites, but it's all the good fabric that goes into that. So it's such a huge wastage of the resources, or it is used in the place of a firewood or for energy production. And this also emits carbon dioxide again, or carbon monoxide, or it goes to the landfill. And once it goes to the landfill, it actually contaminates the soil and also the biodiversity that is around it. Because this report says that when it comes to t-shirt, around 34% being reused, which is actually very good. But globally, when we take, it's only 1% right now of the fashion that is being reused. Okay. And the amount, because we consume more, like we did a small survey, and we found out that on an average, the pieces of clothing that we have, which can include socks, innerwears, etc., apart from the outer clothing, the jackets and all, on an average, people have 200 pieces of clothing. It can go up to 500. So if each one piece has taken 5 liters of water to be manufactured and a huge amount of energy, we can easily calculate the impact on the environment that the items that I have purchased have made is actually huge. Now, sometimes, I have put up this slide because men's feel that they don't make an impact. It's only the women who buy fashion. But what statistics say is that in India, the volume of growth is 4.8% in men's apparel segment. And it is actually huge. The market is expected to grow very, very much, and it is actually growing. And we conducted a research, and which is also going on, specifically among men. And what we have found, that the pleasure of shopping dominates the attitude of the consumer. And when they buy things, they're unable to correlate the impact of on the environment during their purchase decision. And this study has not just been done through a survey, but what we have done is we have gone to, the researcher has gone to check the wardrobes of men and find out from there what do they have and how much they own and what is the number of products that they have. And what is the average number of items? And this is an average out of a huge number of people that has been studied in India. And it was found that on an average, students from different age groups, men have around 26 t-shirts and jeans, formal wears on an average 21, ethnic wear less, and sportswear is less. Now, there are students too, there are people who are above 60 also. And so what we can see is like casual wear, t-shirts and denim is one item which we find in everybody's wardrobe, because it has become a common dressing across, whether it's men or women, in everybody's wardrobe. Now, does it impact? Does it have an impact? Because it looks so normal to wear a t-shirt and jeans. What is the impact? So if I just talk about the water consumption behind one t-shirt and a single pair of jeans, it's approximately or not less than 20,000 liters of water. Now, this is water which we need to produce the product. Then if we keep on washing it, the amount of water that we will need is more. How many years, 20,000 liters of water we can drink for many, many years. I think the amount of water that is used for making one t-shirt is enough for one person to drink that amount of water for 3 years. And we are in a place where we do have drinking water crisis. And when we buy this, we fail to see that the water consumption. Of course, there are technological innovations, but still there is a huge quantity of water that is used. And this is in the most common product that we all have. So we need to rethink fast fashion. Fast fashion is a fashion that we can go and pick up or order and pick up, and it keeps changing. And sometimes we pick up more because we know the trends can change. So something that fits me well and I like it, I might not get it after a few months. So that also pushes us to buy another, color variant or a similar design. So the environmental and social cost of the fashion industry forces us to rethink fast fashion, and it stresses the need for more sustainable business model. Now, all of us can't create new business models, but what we can do is we can change our practices. And this is something I think we all need to think about. Apart from that, there's a huge amount of pesticide which is used in growing of cotton. So even if it's a Better Cotton Initiative, BCI cotton, which is more scientific, but it still needs pesticide. You might ask me, what about organic cotton? Yes, organic cotton goes without the use of pesticide and fertilizers, but it does need a huge amount of water. It needs a huge amount of water and the yield is less, so it is expensive. Farmers are afraid to grow organic cotton because they're not always sure whether they will get the returns for the crop that they are growing, because the quality might be compromised. And will somebody give them the price or compensate for what they have invested in growing organic cotton? So there are some questions like that. And so we really need to, think of this impact when we pick up something that looks so nice. Now, this data actually challenged me personally. And this data is, our Walden data, which shows that during the last, around 60 to 70 years, the amount of energy that we have consumed, including all the kinds of energy, is much more than what has been consumed any time in history. And there is the concern for sustainability. If we are consuming at this pace, and we are consuming and we are using up, the fossil fuels, what are we leaving for our future generations? Will they sustain? And if we are using our natural resources and impacting the environment, that the biodiversity is affected, the life underwater is affected, how will the creation survive? So what are we doing for our future? What are we really thinking about it? And fashion being the second largest polluting industry in the world. So let's stop. Let's think, reflect. So, and I have mentioned this earlier, the moment we open our wardrobe, I think we can tell ourselves that this new normal is actually not normal. Because the amount of energy that we are consuming and the resources that we are consuming is not, it is just going to create or have created such a huge burden on the environment. And the Bible says we are called to be stewards. The Bible stresses that, tells that the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to till it and keep it. So God has given us this beautiful environment, this beautiful biodiversity to take care of it and to rule it. But are we really taking care of it? Are our actions or our man-made impacts impacting it so significantly that it is actually crying out? And many times I think we forget that the earth is the Lord's and all that is in it, the world and those who live in it. Because when we think about environment, we might think of using of water, using of energy, the emissions of a car, because we can see the emissions of a car or a truck. But when we buy fashion, we cannot see the emissions coming out of it. So we fail to connect, we fail to correlate the impact that our consumption is making on the planet. And yes, we are called to be stewards. So it is something that we really need to think about, because we are failing to be stewards through our consumption practices and our disposal practices. Because if we let it go into the landfill, we are actually impacting the environment. Psalm 104, 24, 25 says, "O Lord, how manifold are your works. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Yonder is the sea, great and wide, creeping things innumerable are there, living things both small and great. And when this polyester particles go inside the water, it is consumed by all the small and great animals. Or even when it's dumped, it is eaten by all animals. And even now, it is found inside the body of humans also, and a severe health impact, apart from all the other impacts. So, what can we do? Can we really have some fashion which is known as a responsible fashion? What I want to say is that yes, there are brands, there are sustainable SDG goals, and even Indian brands are really trying to work. The big brands, I would say, like if you talk about Arvind's Denim Mill in Ahmedabad, they are using 65% of the company's water is from recycled sources, but then they are also trying to use for manufacturing of denim. Completely they want to use recycled water because they still need fresh water. And this fresh water, actually, when they use it depletes the water level for the local communities over there. But if I keep buying a lot of responsible fashion, the impact that I make is also quite a lot. So there are international efforts, okay, and these websites will actually tell us what is the international efforts that are going on, what are the traceability, what are the norms, what is the ethical fashion initiative, and what is a roadmap that has been created for. And when we look in our country, our policies are still not that strong. So what can we do at this current scenario? What can we do? We don't have a brand where after buying we can return back. Not all brands, we have few multinational brands, of course, who are taking back, who are buying back, but there are many brands which will not take back what I bought from them and recycle it or put it in the loop so that it's not wasted, it doesn't go to the landfill. So we don't have a place. We in Bangalore, maybe one or two, there are a few channels where you can give up your old clothing, which is again recycled. But in most of the tier 2 or tier 3 cities, we still do not have that organized setup. And we really don't know what to do with the clothes that we don't want to wear anymore. Sometimes the people whom we actually used to give our clothes, they also have surplus. They also don't know what is. That's why when we travel down the road, you will see there is so much of textile waste around. But still, what can we do? I think we can, or I can, think of a capsule wardrobe. Now, what's a capsule wardrobe is? A capsule wardrobe is something which is like we really think what I really need. I need 5 or 4 formal trousers, 3 denims, 5 t-shirts, 5 formal shirts, and so on and so forth. So we decide and we only maintain a small wardrobe. And we use it for a longer time and then it becomes slow fashion. Sometimes we actually wash too much or use too much of detergents, which is not necessary. We do a very, very intensive laundering. And every laundering that we do to our clothes, of course, is necessary. But intensive laundering actually impacts the environment because all the detergents and the dirt and the microfibers go into the wastewater. And if it's not treated, it ultimately affects the environment. Repair session. I've always seen my mom, my grandmom, or myself in also earlier, we always had this sewing kit with us always in the hostels, at home. And if a button falls off, it had to be repaired. There was no other option. But do we really repair? Do we really have that practice right now among us to repair something that is worn out, or to wear a dress where might have torn, or a sari which has got torn? Or even if we look at all the craft, the hand embroidery of India, they were actually visible mending aesthetics. And that really fascinates me. And I love those hand embroidery, which is a part of our craft or our culture, like the Katha stitch, where you put the layers of fabric together and just do a running stitch and make it into a blanket, break it into a wrapper or a stole. or even the kutch work, the mirror work. All this embroidery had come because so that you can hide the imperfections, you can hide something that is torn, and you can reinforce the fabric. So there are communities which are still pursuing it or doing it, or there is NGOs now, and there are bodies which are doing it. There are craftsmen who are doing it. And I think one way we can is to start following, appreciating those craft and owning those craft if we are not able to repair it on our own. So that's what I said, like, if we use traditional textiles, that is slow fashion, that also minimizes the impact on the environment. Because in case of a sari or a dhoti, when it is made, we are not cutting and wasting fabric and creating waste. And they're not size specific, so anybody can wear it. So the fit issues doesn't come. And they stay with us for years. A sari will stay with us much more than a t-shirt would, much more than a dress would. And sometimes it stays with us for 20, 30 years also. So it is a slow fashion. Then upcycling of textiles. Now, what is upcycling is making into a product which has a higher value, then making it into a rag or a dusting cloth which has a lower value. That is downcycling. Now, upcycling, many of us volunteers with different NGOs, self-help groups, and if you want to be creative, or if you want to help other communities for income generations, we can develop a system where we give the old clothes and then we upcycle it into some products, maybe, yeah, something like that, or much more. It can be a cotton bag, or it can be a bag which is made up of denim, and this can be sold. So what we are doing is we are not just letting it go into the landfill or into a padding or something, but it's made into a product, and if it's stitched, it will stay for longer time. Or we can just do it ourselves in our home as a part of craft, as a part of hobby. Now, earlier, the quilts and the blankets were actually made from pieces of old fabric. So the quilting technique, because they reinforced it. And I think now, again, there is a time when we need to go back to that so that we don't dispose fashion in a very, very irresponsible way and fail to be stewards of the environment. Now, I know among the audience, there might be some of you who are in the technical field. So there is an absence of technology in India, and we do need technology. If you see the picture on my right, which has been taken last week, it's a textile recycling industry in Tirupur, and this is the working condition over there. The person who is working is manually sorting it out. So these old textiles are made into a fiber form, and then now they will be made into a recycled yarn. And this recycled yarn will be used for multiple products. Maybe some of it might get also exported. But if you look at the working condition, there are a lot of small fibers which can be breathed in or go to the lungs. So he's just tying a handkerchief around its nose and working. So technical innovation is required, which can be easily commercially and technically feasible in material identification and sorting. So if you are somebody who is really passionate and good in technology, you can also do something. Apart from that, developing supply chain, because I might have one of you who is good in business, who is working in a supply chain. Now in India, we do not have a very, very formal textile waste value chain, which actually takes care of worker well-being or gives a high value return for all stakeholders. So all the recycling of textiles that happens, and again, India imports a lot of used textiles and it is made into a recycled yarn here because our labor is cheap. But the working conditions of those clusters in the northern part of the country, in Panipat, in Ludhiana, right from, the West textiles travel from Kutch and goes up to the north, it's really not good. And then even if people are recycling waste, there is no centralized database for others to find out what yarn is there, how it can be used. So we do need a centralized database with all waste collectors or sorters or traders or aggregators. And some of you who are in this field, I think, can really, really contribute very, very significantly. one question comes. So, should I buy sustainable fashion? Now, let me tell you, there is no fashion which is completely sustainable. So all that is sold as sustainable fashion are sustainable fashion initiatives that those brands or those NGOs or the manufacturers have taken. Because as I just mentioned, if we use organic cotton, yes, it is biodegradable, it is free from pesticides, so it will have a less impact on the environment. But then the water footprint is high. Recycled polyester helps, yes, but recycled polyester products are much more expensive than virgin polyester, because recycling process, the Bisleri bottles or any of these mineral water bottles, when they are recycled, we are again using energy, effort, people. So a recycled product is actually expensive. Sustainable fashion or a khadi or hand spun yarn, hand woven fabric, you know, it's not cheap. It is expensive. So sustainable fashion is actually a luxury segment most of the time. But then what do we do? But we can do certain things. We can have a modular or a capsule wardrobe. We can upcycle. We can get into slow fashion. We can maybe buy things from a thrift store. Or we can, if we are sure about the maintenance of the clothes and that they are hygienic and sanitized properly, we can even do clothing rentals, or we can buy pre-owned fashion. Or if somebody, if one of you who is good in stitching, we can start loving zero waste or stitch in a way that it is zero waste. We don't cut and throw away any fabric during making of a clothing. We can go for fashion which uses a green processing, which uses water responsibly, which uses safe dyes and chemicals, are made from recycled yarn. So there are a lot of things that can be done. But let me also tell you that in a developing country like ours, where we have people like uh, we have people from all the different backgrounds. If somebody is buying a polyester sari and wearing it to work and doing the housekeeping, it is useful for them because it will dry faster, it is easy to wash, it is easy to maintain, and it is long. So in that case, what as a country we need to do is we need to develop a supply chain, a reverse supply chain, where they can be disposed in a place and they can again be put back into the loop. And that is what is missing right now in India. So we cannot force in a developing economy everybody to buy sustainable fashion, because sustainable fashion is actually luxury or a premium brand. So to summarize, this, I just found it somewhere, and I thought this just summarizes what I had been speaking for the last few minutes, that yes, fashion is an energy intensive, resource intensive industry. And the number of pieces because of fast fashion that are manufactured every year it's tremendous. And therefore it contributes to 2.1 million tons of carbon dioxide annually. And it is impacting the global warming, the climate crisis, and from there that even impacts human health, human livelihood, impacts the workers who work out in the sun. And then ultimately, after doing so much of impact, what is happening? We are dumping it into a trash, and that is further impacting the environment. And that is where we are. So we need to decide. I think we need to decide, each one of us, um, what do I do from now on? How can I have a capsule wardrobe, or how can I reuse what I already have? How can I consciously launder? How can I repair my clothing which are getting worn out, or in a creative way, or upcycle? Can I work in any of this technological field which is required to create or to have responsible fashion? Or can I work in the area of a supply chain to make it more formalized and more safe for the people who are into it? And with this, I would like to stop sharing. These are my references. Thank you so much for patient listening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Nilanjana. Now we'll start another segment of Q&A, and